Have you ever wondered what it truly means to become immortal? Not through magic, not through endless life, but through a name so powerful that more than 3,000 years later, people still speak it with awe. Imagine knowing while you are still a young man that you have only two choices: live a long and peaceful life, watch your children grow old beside your family, and eventually disappear from history without anyone remembering your name, or march into the greatest war the world had ever seen, become the most feared warrior who ever lived, earn glory that would last forever, and die before your youth had even faded. Most people would choose life. Achilles chose legend. But becoming the greatest hero of Greece would demand a price far greater than his own death. It would cost him his closest friend, his compassion, and ultimately the very humanity that made him a hero. This is the true legendary story of Achilles, the warrior whose strength terrified kings, whose anger shook an entire army, and whose fate reminds us that even the mightiest heroes cannot escape destiny. Long before the city of Troy became the center of the ancient world's greatest war, before thousands of warriors gathered beneath fluttering banners, and before bronze swords clashed beneath the scorching Mediterranean sun, destiny was already weaving the life of a child whose name would echo through eternity. In ancient Greece, people believed that the gods were never far away. Every storm, every victory, every harvest, and every tragedy could be traced back to the will of the divine. The gods walked among mortals, fell in love with them, quarreled with them, and sometimes destroyed them without warning. It was in this world that Achilles was born. His father was Peleus, the respected king of the Myrmidons, a people known for their courage and discipline. Though mortal, Peleus had earned the admiration of many heroes through his wisdom and bravery. His mother was far more extraordinary. She was Thetis, one of the Nereids, the sea nymphs who served the ancient sea god Nereus. Thetis possessed remarkable beauty, wisdom, and powers beyond those of ordinary mortals. Legends say that even Zeus, king of the gods, and Poseidon, ruler of the seas, once admired her. But an ancient prophecy changed everything. The prophecy declared that Thetis would give birth to a son greater than his father. Neither Zeus nor Poseidon wished to risk producing a child powerful enough to overthrow them, just as Zeus himself had overthrown his own father, Cronus. Rather than marry Thetis themselves, the gods arranged for her to marry the mortal king Peleus. It was a decision that would alter the course of history. Their wedding became one of the grandest celebrations ever witnessed. Gods descended from Mount Olympus, immortal beings gathered beside mortal kings, music echoed across mountains, golden cups overflowed with wine, the air carried laughter, celebration, and hope. Yet one invitation was never sent. The goddess Eris, whose very name meant discord, had been deliberately excluded. Insulted by the slight, she arrived anyway. Without speaking a word, she rolled a single golden apple into the gathering. Upon its polished surface were carved the words, "For the fairest." Immediately, three powerful goddesses claimed the prize: Hera, queen of the gods; Athena, goddess of wisdom and war; and Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty. Their argument grew so intense that Zeus refused to judge between them. Instead, he appointed a young Trojan prince named Paris to decide. Each goddess offered him a reward. Hera promised limitless political power. Athena offered unmatched wisdom and victory in battle. Aphrodite promised the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris chose Aphrodite. That beautiful woman was Helen, already married to King Menelaus of Sparta. Paris later took Helen to Troy. The act united nearly every Greek kingdom against Troy. A single decision made during Achilles' parents' wedding had unknowingly planted the first seed of the Trojan War. Years passed. At last, Thetis gave birth to a son. She looked upon the infant and saw not simply a child, but a future already surrounded by blood and sorrow. She had heard whispers of fate. She knew that if the coming war reached Troy, her son would stand at its center. No mother could willingly accept such a future. She searched desperately for a way to protect him. According to the most famous legend, Thetis carried the baby through the silent darkness before dawn to the river Styx, the sacred river that separated the world of the living from the realm of the dead. Its waters were believed to possess extraordinary power. Holding the infant tightly by one tiny heel, she lowered him into the river. The enchanted waters touched his skin, his arms, his chest, his head, his legs. Every part of him became protected from mortal weapons. Only the heel gripped by his mother's hand remained untouched. One tiny place escaped the magic, one tiny weakness hidden upon the body of the greatest warrior the world would ever know. Whether every Greek believed this story or whether it became famous in later centuries remains uncertain, yet the legend endured because it revealed something profoundly human. No one is completely invincible. Every hero carries a hidden weakness. Achilles grew quickly. From his earliest years, those around him sensed something extraordinary. He learned faster than other children. He possessed remarkable balance. His eyesight was astonishingly sharp. He could outrun boys much older than himself. Even while playing, he displayed courage that bordered on recklessness. If another child feared climbing a cliff, Achilles climbed higher. If others hesitated before crossing a raging stream, Achilles crossed first. Danger seemed to attract him rather than frighten him. His father encouraged discipline. His mother worried constantly. She understood that courage often invited fate. As Achilles reached boyhood, Peleus made a decision that would shape his future. He entrusted his son's education to the wisest teacher in all of Greece. Deep within the rugged wilderness of Mount Pelion lived Chiron. Unlike the other centaurs, who were often known for drunkenness and violence, Chiron was respected by both gods and mortals. He was a healer, a philosopher, a musician, a master hunter, a teacher whose students included many of Greece's greatest heroes. If anyone could prepare Achilles for the future, it was Chiron. Life on Mount Pelion was unlike the comfort of a royal palace. There were no luxurious halls, no servants, no royal feasts, only forests, rivers, caves, towering cliffs, and endless days of discipline. Each morning began before sunrise. Achilles learned that a warrior first had to conquer himself before he could conquer an enemy. Chiron taught him patience before teaching him violence. The young prince spent hours listening to birds, learning how to recognize approaching danger from the smallest sounds. He studied animal tracks until he could identify creatures that had passed days earlier. He climbed rocky cliffs with bleeding hands simply because Chiron believed perseverance created stronger character than comfort ever could. When food was scarce, Achilles learned to hunt. When storms arrived, he learned to survive without shelter. When wounds came, Chiron showed him how herbs could stop bleeding, ease pain, and prevent infection. A true hero, Chiron often reminded him, must know how to save lives as well as take them. Only then did the weapons training begin. Achilles first practiced with wooden swords. Day after day, he repeated the same movements: strike, step, turn, block, again, again, again. Months became years. The wooden sword became bronze. The bronze sword became an extension of his own body. Soon came the spear. Unlike many warriors who relied on brute strength, Achilles mastered precision. He learned exactly where armor was weakest. He practiced throwing until he could strike distant targets with astonishing accuracy. Archery followed, then wrestling, then chariot racing, then shield formations. Every skill demanded complete focus. Whenever Achilles believed he had mastered a lesson, Chiron found another challenge. Sometimes the old centaur would send him alone into the mountains with nothing except a knife and a water skin. He had to survive for days without assistance. Other times he was instructed to track dangerous wild boars across steep valleys. Failure was never mocked. It simply became another lesson. As the years passed, Achilles transformed into something rarely seen among mortals. He combined extraordinary natural talent with relentless discipline. Strength alone does not create greatness. Skill alone is not enough, but together they create legends. Yet Chiron recognized another quality growing inside his student: pride. Achilles knew he was becoming better than nearly everyone around him. He could outrun most men. He could outfight experienced soldiers. His confidence continued growing. One evening after a successful hunt, Chiron watched Achilles celebrating his own accomplishments. The old teacher spoke quietly. A warrior who believes he cannot be defeated has already begun losing. Achilles frowned. I have trained harder than anyone. You have. I can defeat almost anyone. You probably can. Then why should I doubt myself? Chiron looked toward the mountains disappearing beneath the setting sun. Because destiny does not care how strong you become. Those words stayed with Achilles long after the lesson ended, for destiny was already approaching. Across Greece, whispers spread from kingdom to kingdom. A great conflict was coming. Kings strengthened their armies. Blacksmiths worked day and night, forging bronze helmets, shields, spears,
and swords. Ships were being repaired. Messengers traveled constantly between distant cities. Something enormous was unfolding. Eventually, the truth reached Mount Pelion. Helen, wife of Menelaus, had left Sparta with Prince Paris of Troy. Whether she had been taken by force or departed willingly depended on who told the story. But to the Greek kings, only one fact mattered. Their honor had been challenged. Years earlier, Helen's many suitors had sworn an oath. If anyone ever threatened her marriage, every king would come to her husband's aid. Now that oath had been called. One by one, rulers from across Greece prepared for war, and another prophecy emerged. It declared something remarkable. The Greeks could never capture Troy without Achilles. The greatest expedition in Greek history depended upon a single young warrior who had not yet fought his first real battle. When Thetis learned of the prophecy, fear overwhelmed her. She knew another prophecy as well. If Achilles went to Troy, he would never return. His name would become immortal, but his life would be tragically short. She desperately searched for a way to change fate. Perhaps, if Achilles could not be found, the war might continue without him, and her son might live. Believing she could outweave destiny itself, Thetis secretly took Achilles far from Mount Pelion. She hid him on the island of Scyros in the court of King Lycomedes. There, to conceal his identity, Achilles was dressed in fine robes and lived among the king's daughters. The young warrior who had spent years mastering swords now wore elegant garments instead of armor. His powerful hands that had gripped spears now held embroidery and musical instruments. To everyone in the palace, he appeared to be just another noble young woman. It was an extraordinary disguise, and for a while, it worked. Far away, however, the Greek kings gathered. One name remained missing from their ranks: Achilles. Without him, according to prophecy, Troy could never fall. Among the assembled leaders stood one man whose mind was every bit as dangerous as Achilles' sword: Odysseus, king of Ithaca, master of strategy. He did not believe Achilles had vanished. He believed he was hiding, and he intended to find him. Little did anyone realize,